Hello and welcome to this new Java Lab tutorial. In this video, I am handling the topic of service discovery, and this video will be a review of my last video, which I provided regarding the same topic. And I figured out that it will be nice if I put more detail so that you can also follow easily. So then let's start. Our project will, or first of all, why do we need service discovery? Of course, in a distributed environment or environment like microservices-based environment, you will have a couple of microservices, and these services has to talk to each other without knowing more detail about each other. And that's where the service discovery comes into picture. In our today's video, we will use Zookeeper for the service discovery. And we will have a project which is made up of two submodules. One it's called Spring Cloud, which will have a Spring Cloud application in it, and the services controller. And the second submodule is called Spring Cloud Discovery, and we'll have a service registry service, which will use the service discovery from Apache Currator Framework in order to query data from Zookeeper. And each service in Zookeeper will have the following representation. That means our service will call later on app1, and it will have the following representation. A service can have multiple service instances. In our case, we will have only one instance. Yeah, and once the application will start, it will register with Zookeeper. For that, you need Zookeeper to be installed on your local machine. I will provide the link where to install it from, and I will use also a so-called Zookeeper client so that we can figure out what has been registered in Zookeeper. Yeah, then let's start. So as usual, we will go to Spring. You can go to Spring Initializer in order to get to generate the project. You can keep everything as you want, and you can select Gradle, this version, and yeah, apart from this, keep everything as it is. We will use Java 11, which I have already installed on my machine. And we can prepare the dependencies, as we will use the service Zookeeper for service discovery. Then we will not need Zookeeper, this one, and because I will write a REST controller, then we will need Spring Web as a dependency, Spring Boot Web. And I will use Lombok in order to get rid of writing boilerplate code like getters and setters. That's why I will also add Lombok as a dependency. Yeah, and then you can hit generate button. In my case, I've done this already. And you will get a zip folder, and you can unzip it and open it in your IDE. I've done this already, as I told, in order to save a little bit time. Yeah, once you import the project in your IDE, then it will look like this. These are the plugins which we got, and these are the dependencies. Yeah, and since I want to have a multi-module project which is made up of two submodules. These are my two submodules. I have to change a little bit here. For that, I will remove this first. This I don't need. And I will use the sub-projects in order to apply common stuff to all submodules. And therefore that I will copy all this stuff here. Dependencies now I will not need, because I will apply them to the submodules, and the root folder will not be a Java project. That means I don't need to apply the Spring Framework dependency here. By the way, I will also provide a link where to read about the Spring Framework plugin, which will react to each dependency which we'll define here. Like, for example, in this case, I will apply two dependencies, two plugins, sorry. The first one is Java, and the second one will be the dependency management plugin. I can copy it from here. Then, since I have applied these dependencies here to all subprojects and the root folder, this folder won't be a Java project, I can remove them from here. And since I'm not applying, I am using the plugin here, but I'm not applying it to Spring Cloud folder here, root folder. I have to add one more line here, which I will copy from. Let me from the page where the dependency is explained. Yeah, in our case, we will use it in isolation. That means I need this line here. Yeah, there are two options. Either you can apply it to the project, or you can use the Spring Framework, the plugin, without applying it. In this case here, this is this block. I will provide also the link, and since I am not applying it to our root projects, for that I need this more statement here, this more line. Yeah, I think that's it. And I want to rename the root folder to be called master. For that, I need to apply one more dependency, one more plugin. Now I can use this plugin to rename my root folder. As I told, I will use the name master for that. Yeah, let's try now if everything can still compile. We have got one problem. Promiscuous could not set unknown property plugin. Yeah, this is wrong here. Yeah. Okay, save. Okay, now build has been successful, and now the root folder has got the name master. Now we will start generating our two submodules. We will start by creating the Spring Cloud discovery. Select my JDK. I will call it Spring Cloud Discovery. Okay, now I've got here my build Gradle. I don't need all this stuff here. And this also I don't need. Okay, and the dependencies, I will pick them up from here. Since this module will deal with the service discovery, that means I need only this dependency here. Okay, and I will paste it in this build Gradle. Oops. Okay, let's save everything and let's import and build the project. Okay, it seems that everything is okay. Then we will start creating now our service registry service. For that, I will create a package first, com java lab. I will call it discovery. Yeah, that's it. And inside this, now I will create an interface. I will call it services registry. This interface I will implement the auto-closable interface. Okay, here inside they will have one method. What is the problem here? No implement clause, allowed for interface. Sorry, I have to extend, not implement. I have to extend since this is a class. Before defining our method here, let's go and define one more class. I will tell you why. Services mapper, so the service instance mapper. Okay, I will explain. As I showed here, each service could have multiple service instances, and now I am defining here a mapper to map the information from Zookeeper to this class. That means this class will have a service instance name, and we'll have service instance ID, and we'll have a payload. And the payload is of type Zookeeper instance because we are using Zookeeper. And I want to use Lombok in order to not to create getters by hand. But Lombok is already on the class paths. Yeah, okay, Lombok. Okay, I need this two line here because now it's commented. That's why he was not able to recognize them. Let's see now. Import. Okay, and now if I go here, then it's working. Okay, now I can now generate the constructor. Zookeeper instance, and from there I will pick up the payload. Now I need here service instance. this class I need, and this will be of type Zookeeper instance, and now from there I can fetch the payload. Okay, I think I'm done here. Instance, okay, misspelled. Okay. Okay, the name here should also I should change the name here also because it's misspelled. Okay, now everything is okay. As I told, this will be the wrapper of my service instance of this instance, which is the representation of a service instance in Zookeeper, as showed here. That means my service instance mapper is a wrapper, is a mapper of this instance here. Okay, now I can go back to my interface and define the method. The method will return back a service instance mapper, and it will get a name as a parameter instance. Okay, I think that's it. Services. Okay, let's put this capital and let's remove it here. Rename it here also. Okay, I think we are done here. Then we need a class which implements this interface. We will call it services registry impl. This will implement services registry. Okay. Now this class here we need a kind of client in order to fetch information from Zookeeper, and this client is the Apache Currator Framework. Then we need the service discovery, service, which will be of type Zookeeper instance. And one more thing we need here is Zookeeper discovery property. Then we can create our constructor. I told I've selected everything. Let's generate it again, constructor, and here you go. Okay, this parameter I don't need, because here I have now to initialize my service discovery in different way. I will not get the service discovery injected, but in order to create a service discovery service, there is a class called service discovery builder. This class, and this class will be of type Zookeeper instance. like this. Zookeeper instance dot class. Then we have to pass the clients in order to connect to Zookeeper, and the client is in this case the Currator framework. And we have to tell now the service discovery service from where he has to fetch the instances. And this is where the Zookeeper discovery property is coming to picture. We have to tell now the service discovery that he has to pick up the information. Let's see what the problem he cast. Okay, build is missing. Okay, the build was missing. Okay, Zookeeper instance, as I told, is, as you can read here, the representation of default payload of a registered service in Zookeeper. And Zookeeper discovery property, this is a representation of all the properties in a server in Zookeeper service discovery. Like for example, here we picked up the root, and here are all the service instances registered. That's why I told him you have to use the root in order to fetch the information. I think now everything is done. We have now to implement our method. Yeah, for that we have now to use the service discovery and query for our instance. Using the name. Okay, and let's assign it to a variable here. Okay, now we can iterate over our service instances. For that, we need we will use the Java 8 stream. We will filter only those instances where the name is matching with the name which is passed here as a parameter. I will pick up the first one. What is the issue? String util, yeah, and equal instance name, yeah, instance get name, the name which is passed as a parameter. Okay, let's assign it to a variable. Okay, let's check if we have now something in our optional is present. Then we will pick up the first one. Then first dot gets, and now let's assign this also to a variable. Let's call it. Okay, and now we will use our service instance mapper. and we will use the service instance which we got here. Let's change the constructor. Name. Get ID. And that's it. Yeah, then we can just return now the mapper which we have created right now. Okay, still something you have to implement. We have to clean up now our resources. We have to check now if the Currator framework, for example, is not null. Then we have to close it. Close and Currator framework set to null. Then our service discovery also we have to check. Okay, I think we are done here. This parameter I have to inject. These are variables you have to inject, and since I don't want to use AutoWire, I don't want to AutoWire them like this. I don't want to use the AutoWire annotation. For that, I will use the auto configuration, which is coming with Spring Boot. And for that, I will create a new package which I will call scom Java Lab. Discovery dot auto configuration. Auto configure. And here now I will create my auto configuration class. Okay, this will be a configuration class. And here I will instantiate my beans. I need an instance of my service registry. Yeah, and which I can create like this. New, no, not this, sorry. Impl Currator Framework and Zookeeper Discovery Properties. And I think now I have, that means once the Spring will load the context, then this bin will be instantiated. In order to use the auto configuration, what is here? Discovery. Okay, still the name is wrong. Rename file, then we are done. And here, what is the issue? Services registry impl. Services registry impl. Services registry impl. Okay, we will see. Let's copy this one from here just to make sure. Factor rename. There's nothing to rename. Okay. Here, okay, let's go. We'll see if it will fail. In order to use this, the Spring Boot's auto configuration, we need to create one thing here, one directory, and below this directory we have to create a file which is called Spring Boots Factories. Okay, this should be called sorry, it should be called Spring Factories. This is how we use the Spring auto configuration, and I need now this line to tell him which class is responsible for the auto configuration, and that's in our case this class. I will copy the package name, paste it here, and copy the class name from here. Okay, now I think we are done. Let's see if everything now still build. We have got an error here. Missing return statements. Okay. Okay, these statements, in case we did not find anything, then we have to return null in this case. Okay, then let's build again. And everything is working. Now we are done now with our service discoveries module. And now we can create the service, the second module, second submodule, Spring Cloud Web. I will call it Spring Cloud Web, and that's it. The same thing I've done with the discovery module. I will get rid and remove all the stuff which I don't need, and copy the dependency from here, since this is the only dependency I need. Okay, and let's clean up here. So, and let's now paste the dependency here inside. Okay, then this is the only dependency I need, and now I can start creating our controller. For that, I will create a new package, com Java Lab controller, and here I will create my controller class. So this class, services controller. Okay. This will be my REST controller. Okay, the annotation is still not there because I have now to build everything again. Because I've added the dependency right now, and now I have to import it and build. Maybe import is enough. Let's try REST controller. Okay, now we have the dependency there, and my request mapping I have to define here. Okay, here I will define a constant which will be part of every endpoint. Private static final string prefix, and this will be part of every endpoint instances. Okay, and they will use it here to tell the controller that's my prefix for all the endpoints. I think this should be public. Okay, and here I can define now my getter, get mapping, public, and the return will be our service. Okay, I need still one dependency to the discovery projects. That means here I need the dependency to discovery projects because I want to use the service registry which I've defined here. That means I have to define now the dependency. For that, I will define it like this. And they will use the module projects, the module subprojects, Spring Cloud Discovery. Spring Cloud Discovery, Spring Cloud Discovery. Let's import everything. Implementation. Okay. Let's build. Okay, now I can use the service registry and service instance map. I can use every class from this part here. Okay, service. Okay, the return of my method will be a service instance mapper. We told us will be the wrapper of our service instances in Zookeeper, and my method will be get instance. I will pass the name here of the endpoints. The endpoint will be called instance. No, sorry, I will have to pass the name here. And this name I will use it here inside the method as a path variable. Okay, and now I need the dependency to our service registry. And now I can use it here. Get instance and pass the name. That's it. I think I'm done here. Here, semicolon is missing. And what else? Okay, here. This should produces JSON. What is still missing here? Missing return statement, sorry. Yeah, now I think I'm done. I only have now to define the application name using application YAML and the port. Server port will be 9094, and I will tell Spring that my application name is app1 Spring application name is, okay, the name of the application will be app1. So I think now everything is in place. We still have need one more class, which is our main class. We'll call it Spring. We will call it Spring Cloud Web Application. Spring Cloud Web Application. And this will get the Spring boot application notation, and we need a main method. In the main method we will start the Spring application. Okay, I think let's try to start it. One thing, before starting the application, you have to start Zookeeper. I will stop everything here so that you can see how to start it. Zookeeper link I will provide, and then you can download it and unzip it wherever you want and start it. In my folder I have installed 3.36 version, and in order to start you can go to the bin folder and just double click ZK server and it will start it. And afterwards you can go and start the application. Now let's start the application again. Okay. Okay, as you can see, the application has started, and while starting, it's connected to Zookeeper. As you can see here, session established. Yeah. Now we have a session with Zookeeper. The application is connected. Let's try what we will get now. Instances. Null pointer, I've got a null pointer. Why? Of course, we need the constructor here because this is empty. This is null. We need the constructor. Let's generate a constructor. Let's try again. Stop. And restart everything. Okay, the application has been started, and you can see while starting, it will connect to Zookeeper. Yeah, and the default port of Zookeeper is 2181, and the application will connect to this to localhost 2181 and register with Zookeeper. Now let's try. Yeah, now we got the information. Yeah, now our service instance name is app1. This is the service instance ID where the application has been registered. We have only one instance, and this is the payload, which shows that the application, the instance of the service is app. I'm using Zookeeper UI in order to see the representation of the services, and this also I will provide as a link. As I told, this is a client which can show the information on Zookeeper, and the default port of Zookeeper, as I told, is 2181. Now I can log in and see below services. As I told, this is the root folder which I passed here. You remember? Here, this is the root. The root is services. Let me show you this again. This is the root, and this is the Z node which we see here. Yeah, and now below this Z node, this services root, we can find now our application. Oops, I've clicked twice, and as you can see here, our application with this name, and it has been registered with this ID. Yeah, this is the ID which the instance, since we have only one instance, there is only one instance ID here, and this is the ID which you see here. As I told, I will provide the link and provide also the code in GitHub. I hope this video will add some value to you and will help you to understand service discovery in using Zookeeper, and I hope you have enjoyed the session. Yeah, and thanks for joining, and go and subscribe. If you didn't subscribe, go and subscribe and like the video in order to support me providing such tutorial. Thanks a lot for joining, and till next time. Bye.